Hi guys, so I'm going to take you through the initial phases of a project. Okay, so what to do when you're faced with a project, the things that you should do first in order to kind of get the ball rolling. Okay, so first of all, you have to plan things out. Okay, don't just start doing stuff randomly. Okay, it should be a systematic process. And we have talked about the creative brief, and that's what you should start with. Okay, so we said that it's an interview and negotiation process between you and the client. This is where you get information. You can ask, if you're actually working with a client, you'll ask questions like who, what, when, how, and stuff like that. Here are some questions. These are not the only questions, but some very common questions you might ask in a creative briefs. For example, what's the background of the company, or what's the background of the project? Like, what are things that you need to know? Maybe you want to know that if a company has been seeing hard times, and so it needs to boost its publicity and something like that. Okay, what's the deadline, the timeline? Okay, so when do you have this finished? For us, you have a project, and I'm going to set a due date. That's basically be your deadline. Okay, you might want to draw a timeline. Okay, I want to be done this at this point. I want to be done this at this point, etc. And it's a good idea to kind of get yourself on track. So I want to be finished my initial ideas at this point. I want to get my preliminary sketches at this point, start building it here, and I should get close to the end product 2-3 days before the deadline, and then last 2-3 days are going to be like the finishing touches. Okay, choose what type of project you want. Is it going to be something on a website? Is it going to be a poster? Is it going to be clickable? Is it going to be a zooming infographic? Am I going to use PowerPoint? Am I going to use Prezi? Am I going to use Word, Illustrator, Inkscape, whatever? What is it that I'm going to use, and where is it going to be published? Okay, what are the goals and objective? Am I trying to increase sales? Am I trying to direct traffic? Okay, the target group, who's it for? Children, adults, males, females, and if there's any additional requirements that maybe your client might specify. Okay, so once you've got that, you've got a general idea of where you want to go with this. Okay, once you have that general idea, now it's time to start making sketches. Okay, and why do we make sketches, right? It's not just something to please your professor, right? You make sketches because it actually takes your ideas and gets them into physical form, right? It avoids tunnel vision, it forces you to create, and it lets you create many possibilities. Okay, I'll go through these one at a time. Okay, getting your idea in physical form. Okay, so a lot of times you have ideas that are kind of floating around in your head, and thinking of this, maybe this will work, maybe that will work. Oh, I lost that one. What was I thinking about again? So when you sketch, you actually get them physically on paper, so they're not just floating around anymore. You just get them down there, and then you can have them to work with later on, tomorrow, next week. Well, hopefully not next week, but you have them, and they're not just in your head, and they can be easily lost, right? So get them down, right, and then you actually have something to look at. Okay, avoids tunnel vision. What's that? So when we get an idea, often we kind of keep that idea in the head, and we kind of keep following it, and we don't see other things. And there might be other things that might be totally great, but we just kind of focus on that one because we try to concentrate, and we kind of start developing that one. And as we start developing it, we spend more time with it, and when you spend more time with it, you don't want to abandon it, because you kind of become invested in that idea. It's like, okay, I'm going with this, and I've been planning it, and I've been working on it in my head. And so when you do that, you're kind of limiting yourself, because you're just focused on that one idea. Instead, when you sketch things, you do it quickly, and it gets many things out there that you can pick and choose from, right? You're not thinking about the details. right? At least not yet, because you shouldn't think of the details yet, because there's many possibilities. So you want to look at the big picture, right? I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. I'll think about the details later, but let's see all the things that I can do, right? So doing sketches, you can do that really quickly. Okay, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this. Okay, so yeah, it avoids you kind of focusing too much on one single thing. Okay, it forces you to create. Okay, so a lot of times you're just sitting there thinking, and it kind of forces your hand to do something. You're being like active, right? Instead of just sitting there thinking, like some people call it procrastinating. Okay, so you're active, you're actually doing something, you're using your hand, right? And you're actually creating something that can be used later. Okay, and in the end, you'll have a lot of possibilities and hopefully a lot of variations. When you create these things, create many different variations. That way you can kind of pick and choose, like, oh, I kind of like this thing right here, and that kind of could work too. That's kind of nice. And this thing, what was I thinking? I have no idea what I was thinking there. That's garbage, right? And you can kind of pick and choose the things that you like and don't like. Okay, so that's why it's a very good idea to sketch. So many of us don't have a lot of experience sketching, right? This might be a relatively new thing to us, designing a graphic and whatnot. So we don't really know how to approach sketching. And a lot of times when I ask students to sketch, instead of spending a short time like they should be doing, they spend a long time sketching. So they take one idea and they sit down and they spend like 20 minutes sketching out that idea. Okay, and that's what you just did here, right? You got into that tunnel vision where you took that one idea and tried to start developing it. Okay, instead, you should spend only 1 minute per sketch. Okay, so the activity is, take a piece of paper, divide it into 4 quadrants. Okay, in each quadrant, you're going to do a sketch in 1 minute. Okay, and it's very important that you do it in 1 minute, not 3 minutes, not 5 minutes. If you go over 1 minute and 10 seconds, okay, but you're pushing it. Okay, try to do it quickly. That avoids being invested in that idea. Okay, and you want to generate lots of sketches. Okay, that's why you have those 4 quadrants. Some people even divide their paper into 8 quadrants. Okay, and how you do this is you don't think about the details. You just think about the big picture. Okay, what's this look like in general, right? What are going to be the main features of this graphic? Okay, draw out those main features. Okay, do it quickly, right? Those details, you can come to them later. Okay, and the thing is, do lots of different ones. Don't be repetitive. Get lots of different ideas out there, then you can pick and choose. So I'm going to do a really quick one, or many, do a quick sketching exercise in Paint, just to show you kind of like what it's like. And I'm going to try to, oh geez, you can see me drawing with the mouse is really nice. Okay, so this is going to be really great. But I'm going to try to spend 1 minute on each sketch, or even less. Okay, so let's say I have a topic. So somebody has hired me to make an infographic because their objective is to promote a new Spider-Man movie. Okay, so they'd like an infographic. They don't just want, the regular poster, want an actual infographic to kind of attract people to this new Spider-Man movie. Okay, so let's go with the first sketch. So the first one, okay, so I'm gonna have like some big title here about Spider-Man. Maybe I'm gonna have Spider-Man and he's swinging from a web and he's shooting out a web on this side, and I don't know, maybe I'm gonna have various facts about Spider-Man, right? Fact, another fact here, something like that. Okay, that might be it. All right, so that was definitely less than a minute, but there's my first idea. Second idea. Okay, another minute. Oh, let's see. Let's have like a spider web. So spider web. That's my beautiful spider web. And on my spider web, there's going to be things clinging onto the web. I don't know what they are. Maybe they're also facts. Maybe they're little images of different Spider-Mans. Spider-Man doing different things. Yeah, maybe that's it. Spider-Man jumping, Spider-Man swinging, Spider-Man punching some guy. All right, maybe something like that. Okay. And maybe the title goes somewhere here, something like that. Okay. Maybe I want like some conclusion here or something like that. Okay, well, I think that was definitely less than a minute. Let's go to my next one. Let's see. Timeline. Yeah. No idea why I want a timeline. History of Spider-Man. Okay, so history of Spider-Man, and this is what Spider-Man looked like in 1900, if Spider-Man existed in that time, and this is what he looked like. I do know that Spider-Man did change his costume, so at some time he wore like a black costume. Black, that's supposed to be a B, and then he changed to a red costume, and this is where Spider-Man got married in the comic books, and this is where the first film came out. Okay, timeline. Third one, I don't know, kind of scratching my head. I don't know, my head, brain. There's my medulla oblongata, and I don't know, a spider. Spider bites my brain, and my brain starts thinking about, I don't know, Spider-Man film, and starts thinking about, I don't know, something else, Spider-Man. Okay, so there we go. I have 4 very different sketches, okay, and you can see my beautiful artwork, okay. And it doesn't have to be perfect, right? I did spend less than a minute on each one, and you can see how ideas can just pop out, and you just maybe even talk yourself through it like I did. And the thing is, get different things, and you might afterwards say, oh, I kind of like that idea, or I kind of like that, or maybe I'd like to combine some of these. Maybe I can combine like this one together with this one. Maybe I have my brain stuck in the web, and so lots of possibilities, lots of ideas out there that I can pick and choose, combine, and whatnot. Okay, so that's kind of like the idea of sketching.